Do you care if your genetic information is out there in public? This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices Featured Gear, like the Twinkly app-controlled LED holiday lights. Find the links and more at macvoices.com/featured gear. That's all one word, featured gear. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. The panel finishes off a rather contentious discussion about the importance of the 23andMe hack and what it might mean for you, and we get in one more little shot at Goldman Sachs. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. I had two reactions when I saw this. The first one is, and this is why I've never submitted to 23andMe. First of all, DNA is being used in criminal investigations, in paternity tests, in all kinds of things to establish who did something or didn't do something. And I'm not sure I want my information out there in whatever form, potentially accessible to a hacker or anyone else, even somebody legitimate, to drop that in and say, that my DNA was found at the scene of a crime in Kansas City when I was nowhere near Kansas City. But, the DNA says. Mm-hmm. So, that's the first thing. But the second thing, and Guy, sort of to your point, you sound like something I might have said a long time ago about check-ins and about a lot of the things now that we take for granted. Well, what are they going to do with it? Who cares? Mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything. And now,
but that's different because that's information that is specific to you.
And my DNA is pretty specific.
No. And the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Whereas even if they're able to isolate from this data DNA from you, and I haven't read anything that says they're actually able to do that, that this is kind of a general subset of information of large groups of people, then if they were going to do something along the lines of throw DNA onto a crime scene, onto a murder scene or whatever, you first have to clone that DNA, and you have to make that DNA with all of its specific markers. And when I submitted this, I think it was like 10 years ago. It was a gift. It was a Christmas gift from my wife, which I thought was a really weird gift. But I love my wife, so I went ahead and did it anyway. And that was 10 years ago. So because of circumstances, the kind of person that I am and the kind of DNA that I probably have right now is going to be somewhat altered from age and from disease and from everything else that's part of life. So how do you go forward with that? Throw DNA on that is going to be able to be, someone is going to be able to sit there and go, aha, aha, ha, 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 ha. That belongs to Guy Serle. So he and Mr. Mustard in the kitchen with the pipe were obviously the person that killed Penelope Pam. So, I just can't see how it's going to happen, especially with
your DNA doesn't change, Guy. It's immutable from conception.
Okay, well, I obviously am not a
and that's actually the point that Jeff, I think you kind of misstated, because you said, well, once it's out there, you can't retract it. But really, the problem is that you can't change what your DNA is. So if your credit card gets stolen, you can get a new credit card and cancel that one. But you can't cancel your DNA and say, well, I've got new DNA now, so you can go ahead and have that.
Okay. Well, there's still billions of markers DNA that would have to be copied exactly and be able to be put down in such a way that
I don't think I think we're a long way from planting fake DNA, but there are plenty of people that might, I don't think I'm one of them, but there are plenty of people that might be concerned that, something they did, they'd rather not come to light, maybe they had a kid that they may not even know about or whatever, so.
But also,
this is
I mean,
the idea that my DNA records, all the markers and everything you're talking about, Guy, are located in a file somewhere. And so somebody can take that, a hacker can take that, exchange that information into a crime scene report and remove the guilty parties. They don't have to have they don't have to have a fingernail to get my DNA at the crime scene. All they have to do is tweak the report, and now suddenly I'm implicated.
Well, they could do that. They don't necessarily even need the DNA evidence to do that. But the actual physical DNA evidence is still going to point to somebody else.
But, you know, you're going to have to rerun tests and all that.
Sure.
And it just strikes me as something that I'm happier that I don't have out there unless it's been taken from me when I have undergone a specific medical procedure of some kind. And that's, as far as I know, that's not impossible.
Here's a perhaps more realistic problem. How much would insurance companies like to have this information? And, you know, would they like to say, you know what, you can't have coverage for this medical condition because, you know, it's a pre-existing condition?
Well, they'd have to show where they got that information.
Yeah.
How about
especially if you don't already show any kinds of symptoms toward whatever it is they say you have a precondition of.
Webb, you want in this?
These are not forward-looking statements.
No, they're not. One of the issues is that pre-existing condition is one. Do you have knowledge, and are you aware of it? And then that means that you falsified the information on the application because you state on the application that everything that you state on there you've known about. So, yeah, would insurance companies like to have this information? I've had this conversation before, I think in After Dark with Jim, I guess. And, you know, it gets a lot of attention in my industry, but I don't know of anybody who's actually doing it. Not even the big companies. Does that mean that there isn't some research going on in it? I'm sure there is. But like I said, it gets a lot of attention. And would insurance companies be interested in having this biomarker information? Like Guy says, they're going to have to disclose where they got it. Okay. There are certain things.
You know, it's a little bit far-fetched, but again, you know, for a lot of us, you know, it's not useful information for that long because we're not going to be around that much longer. But if someone was 25 and had that stolen, that information will still be correct information 40 years from now. And, you know, who knows what could have changed in the landscape in 40 years. Yeah, you know, I don't think any of us is going to be like, yeah, I think this is perfectly fine information. I'm going to publish it on a website because, you know, I want the world to know what my DNA information is. You know, just doesn't sound really prudent. Any kind of stolen information is not good. And you know, this may or may not be uniquely worse than other kinds of information, or maybe it's less. But, you know, I don't think any of us want any information that we consider to be private to be, you know, hacked and in unknown hands.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, when I graduated high school 23 years ago, this would have been science fiction. So who knows where machine learning is going?
Webb, in the chat room, Cletus asked something that was kind of in my head as you were speaking. So if I went to 23andMe and found out that I had a marker that predisposes me to Parkinson's, what's the current status of me indicating that to an insurance company?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's really a legal question, and I'm not really qualified for that. I can speculate that just because you get it from 23andMe is different from getting it from a doctor or getting it from a true medical test. And I think there's a big difference there. So
having the markers for it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen.
Get it?
That's a good point, Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, we end up with these discussions on the fringes of so many things, including the law surrounding them. And so, I don't know. I mean, if you've submitted to 23andMe, I seriously doubt that you have anything to worry about right now.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but if you haven't, you might want to just take into consideration some of this discussion and then be guided accordingly. If you're really into figuring it out, go for it.
Make a lot of cloned AI guys. That's all there is to it.
Oh my God. We don't have enough microphones in the world for that.
I do.
Actually, Guy does.
I think for
really
me,
do.
Well,
I think for me, this is a reason why I wouldn't have done this. I haven't done this even, before, because this kind of thing is always a possibility, no matter what kind of security they take. Break-ins are going to, something's there, it'll happen.
Web.
So
I was just going to say that if you get out of this whole privacy insurance, what do insurance companies want to know? Do credit companies want to know? Think about if you're in say a political realm, and I don't want to get political, but if I'm a candidate for something and this information comes out that I could have some dread disease or something like that, I think there's some more social aspects in that regard that are equally as important. It's not what a business might do with this information, but what if somebody with nefarious ambitions wants to do with this information? That's probably something I'm be a little bit more concerned about.
Yeah, same if you've got a lot of money or you're going to get married to somebody with a lot of money and someone shows up and says, hey, the person you're getting ready to marry has this issue, they come to you and say, well, I'm going to disclose your issue. That's probably more of a problem with politics, lots of money, that kind of thing, than it is for just some random person. Which is probably why they said in the article that it was, the wealthiest people in the US and Europe was how that got phrased for the data they picked. Who knows?
Yeah, there's so many things.
I have to say that I sent in all of my genetic data to All of Me, which is testing group that's trying to collect diverse genetic data so that when studies are run, it's not run against too generic of a population. That data is potentially available in more spots. They come back later and disclose the DNA data back to you. But one of the questions they ask is, do you actually want to know? And do you want to know, do you want counseling? All that kind of stuff. So there are some concerns just knowing what the information might hint at and whether you want to know it or you don't want to know it.
Yeah, it does open up a can of worms, potential. We've been talking just about the medical part, but yeah, there are a lot of other social aspects to it that could be potentially disturbing. Hey, Guy, I know you got to go. You have a hard out, so thank you so much for being here. Where can folks find you when you're not here sharing your DNA? That came out.
There you go, everybody.
I feel so dirty now, but in an exciting way.
in the possible way. Oh my God. If you want to get a hold of me, you can send me an email to guy@mymac.com. I am Mac Parrot and Vert Shark over on the X, Twitter, whatever the hell it is you want to call them. I am Mac Parrot on Counter Social and at mastodon.social. You can also contact both Gaz and myself from the mighty MyMac.com podcast with 100% less reverb this week. So that's an important thing to point out. Our Google Voice number is 703-828-4677. Call it collect, call it direct, but call it today. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, good job. Good job. Thanks so much, Guy.
All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Matthew in the chat room, just to wrap this up, he says made him think of the movie Gattaca. I think I've got that pronounced right, where you could only get certain jobs or could pay big money to have your choice of reproduction based on DNA.
I remember the movie.
Yeah, I know it's just a movie.
Excellent movie.
But these things. How many science fiction movies have we looked at in the last 20 or 30 years, and they've come to pass in one way or another? I don't know.
A lot.
No. Yeah, and not always the good ones either.
Yeah.
Hey,
we got risk communicators, digital money.
Global communications in the fashion that we've never. Well, just think about what we have here. I mean, we're scattered all over the country. It could easily be all over the world. The only thing that limits us is the time zones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my big disappointment is that I was expecting this post-apocalyptic world to be more neon lights and trench coats than long lines at the gas station and having to run my air conditioner all the time.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my Jetsons flying car. That's me, but
Right?
Yeah, I
Where's
want my
that?
shuttle to Mars.
Jeff, we'll start a GoFundMe for a trench coat for you. How's that?
Cool.
Nice.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I knew you would be. Today's Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices Featured Gear, like the Twinkly app-controlled LED holiday lights. Twinkly delivers the ultimate in flexible lighting for your Christmas tree, holiday decor, or everyday use. With a variety of lengths to suit your needs, Twinkly lets you go beyond the blank options of other lights, giving you the ability to create your own simple or complex designs with full control of color and design placement via the addressable LEDs. Use the app to get exactly the look you want. See how the Twinkly app lets you create and sculpt all kinds of unique designs for your lights, or use the presets to give you a spectacular look for the holidays, parties, or just to add some uniqueness to your own home in 2 Mac Voices interviews from CES, Mac Voices number 20074 and Mac Voices number 23038. The demonstration in Mac Voices number 20074 is still one of my all-time favorites, because I wasn't expecting anything like what Twinkly delivers. Find the links and more at macvoices.com/featuredgear. That's all one word, featured gear. macvoices.com/featuredgear. Hey, I wanted to wrap up with one that is just kind of fun. Since we haven't beat on Goldman Sachs this show, it's time to beat on them. Did you guys see this? I'm throwing the link into the chat room now. That David Solomon was DJing on the side.
Look, guy's got to make a living.
Yeah. He's only CEO of one of the largest banks in the country.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. If that's what he does for a good time, that's fine. I mean, we all do different things, but it just seemed really weird with all the bad press that they've been getting that he decides to step down from DJing, at least for the moment.
Yeah, instead of stepping down other ways.
I didn't say that, David. You did.
I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit trail. So there was one thing that I read, I think yesterday, that I thought was interesting. The agreement between Goldman and Apple is a 10-year agreement. So it's going to be very, very difficult for Goldman to get out of this thing. And if they do get out of it, they're going to have to go to get Apple to agree to it. So it just, I don't see Goldman getting out of this thing anytime soon. American Express is a non-starter. Apple's committed to the MasterCard Pay network, and they can't go to the American Express one at all. So that's a non-starter. Now, that being said, I could see Barclays maybe being interested in it, but Barclays is going to give them a little bit more of an international footing as opposed to just the domestic one. So
they did partner with them many years ago, so they did have a card. It wasn't like this Apple card is, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Web, I don't know what if you can find the article, I'd love to put it in the show notes. I'd love to read it. Just because, I haven't seen anything that's specific. I did not know it was a 10-year agreement. I know the word had been that they were shopping. Goldman was shopping it around to try to find somebody to take it over, but it's also
going to be very difficult to do, though.
Well, and we discussed,
and I'll get you the article.
Yeah, we discussed this last week that Apple is kind of known for making people stick to their agreements and not being nice about just letting somebody out of it. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see. But remember, we also said last week that it sounded like in their earnings call, Goldman was doing a bit of damage control. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the Goldman 10K or the 10Q, and if this is as bad as they're saying, they're going to have to disclose it in those documents. I haven't found them yet, so haven't spent a lot of time looking. So,
yeah.
But
you have nothing else to do. Yeah,
I had my board meeting yesterday, so I was spent today. So,
yeah. we're glad you made it.
Yeah, honestly, if I was Goldman, I would be sending him on DJ gigs to make some of that money back.
DJing for Taylor Swift, Ben?
Just send him to the Apple events.
Have you looked at any of the videos out there on YouTube about the David Solomon's and his D-Soul is that it? Yeah, DJ D-Soul. I got two opinions on it. Is that he's not too bad at it, but I still have trouble understanding how being a DJ is considered like a skill. You're spinning records, so that's just me.
It's not our collective generation.
Yeah, for the DJs that are really good, there is an art to what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, at its core, it's you have a couple records spinning and you're dropping needles on them to pick out different parts of the tracks. But in that sense, it would also be like saying, look, playing the trumpet, you're just blowing air through a pipe. But yeah, I get it. If you're not into the DJ scene, then it's like, why?
If they made the music, I'd probably be more impressed. I think anyway, that's just me. I'm old school.
The good DJs, like the really high-end DJs, they're remixing and making new music out of what they have going on, as opposed to just, okay, I'm matching up the beats for these two records and I'm going to cut over to this one and just keep the beat going, and then I'll pop another record in after that and another one after. Yeah, the really good ones, it's actually really cool what they do, but just I'm going to spin records at your nephew's wedding. That there are different levels happening here.
Yeah, Matthew in the chat room was trying to explain beat matching to me, and I'm just not getting it. So, Matthew, maybe we'll talk offline.
Yeah.
With that, let's wrap up for tonight and go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and then we'll see what happens in After Dark, because you never know what happens after dark. Keeping the same order, I believe, because I don't think they rearranged themselves tonight. Webb Bixby, thank you so much for being here, especially after a day of rest after your tiring last few days. Where can folks connect with you?
I mentioned you're going to try something. I'm just going to say at Web Bixby, at WEBBIXBY, and you can find that on all the different social media platforms. And like I said, I'm not real fluent in them all, but you can find me there.
Great. Thank you, Webb. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, thank you for being here. You and your which tide was it? I'm sorry, the Suns.
I'm with the Phoenix Suns right now, but
it's the Suns.
also
I got it.
An extra eye on the Diamondbacks game right now too.
Okay, what's the score? Let's hear it.
Tied
2-2, top of the fifth.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out next week what happens. Where can folks connect with you?
You know what? Let's give a little love to Spoutable. For Pebble going down. Let's support the little guy. So, Brian8944 is available on Spoutable to find me.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
Dave Ginsburg, you were quiet tonight, but I know that's because you lost lots of sleep in Vegas. Where can folks connect with you?
Find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com, YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. I'm on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud, and many other social media places. You can pretty much find me in any of those places. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jeff Gamet, you and your DNA. Where can folks find you?
All over your house. No,
God,
wait. When I'm not following DJ Webby around to hear his killer spins, you can find me on the different social medias as Jay Gamet, and the ones that I'm most active on right now are Mastodon and Instagram, and I'm trying to get myself to use Threads more. I don't think I need to bother with Spoutable because I fear it's the next little guy to go down, just like Ben was speculating. Anyhow, for shows here, you keep letting me on MacVoices Live on Tuesday, so thank you for that. Dave keeps letting me come back to In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. Thank you for that. Then for the British Tech Network on Thursdays, the Big Show, Fridays, the Mac Show, and Brand Chaffin and I do the Context Machine as well. I guess I get around.
You do indeed. You do indeed. A black light will. No, never mind.
It's like a Jason Pollock painting.
Yeah. Ben Roethig, thank you. Get me out of this. Where can folks connect with you?
Well, you can find me at Ben Roethig on whatever social networks are still around. Roethig.tech. I have a brand new article about the upcoming Scary Fast event on Thursdays. You can find me on Mr. Dave Ginsburg's In Touch with iOS. On Thursday and Friday, you can find me with Mr. Jeff Gamet on the Big Show and the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. And of course, most Tuesdays, you can find me here on Mac Voices.
Thank you, Ben. Mr. Autumn himself, Eric Bolden. Thank you for such a dynamic background, and thank you for being here. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at EA Bolden at techhub.social for computer tech stuff, and EA Bolden at mes.to for plant pictures.
Oh, great. Thank you, Eric. Good. Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Jim Ray. Jim, thank you for being here. Where can folks connect with you?
Well, you can find me on the web at provue.com, PROVUE, and on social media on Mastodon at ProViewJim at techhub.social, and I'll throw out some Spoutable love too at ProViewJim there. I think maybe, I'm not sure they are the next one to go because, they seem to be like, I regularly get emails from them about new features. They seem to be really working on it and doing interesting work with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. It doesn't seem terribly sophisticated, but it's a nice little platform. And so I'm kind of rooting for them. It seems a little weird, the name, but of course, Twitter was weird when it started out. So if you haven't checked out Spoutable, folks, you can find a lot of us. In fact, show of hands, who all's on Spoutable? Okay. Yeah, we had a weird night one night where we all just signed up for Spoutable. So you can find all of us there. Check it out.
I think it's the week after we all sign up for Pebble.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Next week, we'll be talking about the Monday night Apple event. And of course, it will be Halloween. So I don't know what this crew might come as. I personally am hoping for DJ WebB to show up, but we're not sure. No? Webb's shaking his head no.
No.
I mean, we can replace that globe with a mirror ball.
Yeah. And somehow
I'm just picturing Webb up there.
Yeah, with
bring it home
with dreadlocks. Yeah,
No.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. I want to thank the chat room. They've been chatty tonight, throwing some definitely good comments in, and always really appreciate it. It's always great to see you guys as well. We'll see you next time. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.